family, welcome back to the garden. It is a beautiful day outside right now. The weather is like perfect. So I think this is the perfect day for us to plant some potatoes. So let's go. All right, guys, so you guys already know what to do. We all seen me do this before. We're gonna plant some potatoes. You guys just saw me watering down one of the sunflowers that was growing in the potato bin because for some reason it has fire ants in that bin. So when we harvested the fire ants, it actually eat holes into the potatoes. So we need to get those ants out of there before we put our next batch of potatoes in, because we don't want the same problem. But on the same token, we can't just reach our hand down in there and get the ants out or disturb the soil, because they will attack you, as we've learned the hard way. So I tried to spray them off the I sprayed them out of the first bin, the bin that I'm working on right now. I sprayed them out of there before and it worked. So I tried it on the second one, but it didn't work as well. So I'm gonna have to try something else. But right now, all I'm doing is removing that small mulch layer out of this first bin, just to get it out of there so that it doesn't get incorporated into the soil and start to take nitrogen out of the soil by starting the composting process. Now what I'm gonna do, so when we harvested these potatoes, what we found was that the soil wasn't as moist as we would have liked for it to be consistently throughout the container. Like the first half of the soil was dry and the bottom half was still nice and moist. So all I'm doing now is using my auger, which I absolutely love this thing. This thing works amazingly. Especially like if I have a new container that I need to break up, or I have an old container and I need to break up the soil because it's become too dry and compacted. This thing works perfectly. So right now I'm just using my auger just to break it up. And then while I'm using my auger, I'm also letting the water run into the bin to make sure everything is nice and well hydrated. And so far so good. It looks good. You saw I could just drop the shovel and it stood straight up. So that's nice and loose, nice and moist. I think it's gonna be perfect for this next round of potatoes. Okay, so what I just found out, what I just learned is that you can actually harvest potatoes at any point of the potatoes life cycle, right? So you're gonna plant your seed potatoes. Once those potatoes develop, you can actually start harvesting those potatoes right then and there. Those are what they call, I guess, new potatoes or early potatoes or something like that. They don't store as well, but if you let them mature before you harvest them, they will store longer. So, and obviously they'll be bigger, right? So if you want smaller potatoes, and you don't plan on like having them for a while, you can harvest them like it's whenever you like, whenever you get ready. They just, like I said, they just won't store as well, and they're not going to be as big as if you actually let them go to maturity. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was a pretty interesting fact that I learned. All right. So right here, now that everything's watered in, and I'm happy with the consistency, I'm just going to come in and make me a trench to plant my potatoes. The idea is to plant about 10 potatoes per container, and we are planting Kennebec, Yukon Gold, and Red Norlands, which I've never grown Red Norlands, and Kennebec is our first time growing that was actually this year, right? But we're gonna make our trench, use some of my favorite amendments, which is bone meal, some balanced fertilizer, and some langbonite. The bone meal is a 6-12-0 ratio, or 6-17-0 ratio, somewhere around there. So it does have some nitrogen in it, but it's higher in the phosphorus than in the potassium and the nitrogen. So it has basically no potassium. Okay, but the langbonite is going to have is a 0022, so it's going to carry all of the potassium that the potatoes need. And what I like to do is I like to fertilize at the planting level, so that as it establishes roots, everything will already be ready for it and available for it right there at the root level. Now, note about this langbonite. This stuff is it's basically a salt, right? Don't do like I did and leave it out after you're done using it for the first time. Don't leave it out with with the bag open and the box open and allow it to rain inside of your langbonite. You're gonna get exactly what I got right here. This stuff is rock solid. Exactly, it's no bueno, right? So I'm just gonna sprinkle what I can out of the bag into the trench to give it that langbonite, and the rest of it I'm gonna just have to. You're gonna see. I'm gonna try to use these two rocks and grind them together to try to get some of that, langbonite into the soil, like this right here. Because, like I said, these things are rock solid, y'all. They are really hard to break. Like I literally had to use a sledgehammer to break this stuff up because it was that hard, right? So now I'm gonna throw in. These are gonna be some Kennebec that we're throwing in right here. And these are from Tractor Supply. They have the clearance because it's, they're old now, right? So a lot of these potatoes are going to look like Medusa, but we still have some potatoes that are going to look normal, right? They're going to look like they would if you did it yourself at home. And what I'm doing is I'm taking off any extra eyes or chits that I don't want on the potato. These potatoes aren't very big. If these were larger potatoes, I would have cut them in half and gotten more potatoes, but they aren't very large. And so what I'm doing is I'm reducing the amount of chits down to about two per potato, right? But I don't want it to try to put out too many chits and try to make a bunch of potatoes and we end up with a bunch of small potatoes. That's what I'm basically trying to avoid. And you can see, like right here, this is one of those Medusa potatoes. So I'm just gonna, like I said, remove some of the chits and go from there. Now I do know that, like for these longer chits, I didn't go deep enough to be able to completely bury the chit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back through. I'm gonna add some more soil on top, add my mulch layer, and that should be enough to be good enough for the to bury the chit and make everything okay. Okay, so now that everything's watered in and properly in place, been tucked away for sleepy time, I'm gonna come through now and add some more of that balanced fertilizer, that 555. I'm gonna add some of that. My problem is that I always think I'm gonna over fertilize and I never do. I think I fertilize probably right where I'm supposed to be or right below that. But I'm gonna add that fertilizer, that 555. Now I'm gonna hit it with some bone meal. And I'm not using as much bone meal because number one, I've already put some at the planting level, and now I'm adding this second layer. And like I said, I do not have a lot of bone meal left. Like I'm scraping the bottom of the bag. Like this is the point to where if this was ketchup, this is where you add water, right? I'm about at that point right now with this bone meal, right? And I'm gonna just come through right now and add some more of that langbonite. Now I probably didn't have to do it this way. I probably could have gotten some water and made it water soluble. That put it in there, let it break down. But I don't want it water soluble. I want this to be in a solid form so that it can break down over time and continue to nourish the potatoes. So that's why I did it this way, right? Like I said, I probably could have just put in some water and let it dissolve and do its thing, but I wanted to break down slowly. All right, now I'm gonna just work that into the top layer of the soil so that everything is buried, because when you fertilize, you want your fertilizer to be in the soil, not on the soil, because that's how the microbes are gonna break everything down and make everything available for your plants, okay? Now I'm gonna just add the layer of mulch that we removed. I'm just putting that back and this is nowhere near as thick as I want it to be, so I'm gonna add a layer of, I'm gonna add more mulch with these leaves, and I'm gonna make this layer even thicker, because I want it to be about 2 to 4 inches thick, because I found like by doing it like that in other parts of the garden, that was like a really good, that's like the sweet spot, right? That was a sweet spot for us. 2 to 4 inches thick, the water's still able to penetrate, but on the same token, it keeps the soil beneath that nice and damp, even in the hotter days. It's nice and moist, and I really like that. So we're going with the same concept, same principle here. 2 to 4 inches of leaves to mulch this thing out. And like I said, we tucking them into bed rather nicely. They shouldn't be like kids where you tuck them into bed and they get unhappy, they get restless, and they jump out the bed. We should be fine. But right here, Keisha has made us did the honors and made us some little labels on some popsicle sticks, just so we can know what we planted, because we didn't keep track last time. So now we know in this first planter we got Kennebec potatoes, not tomatoes, Kennebec potatoes, and then she's gonna feed the puppies some strawberry flavored biscuits. Right? So yeah, that's what we got going on today. Lots going on today with these potatoes. And the idea is that this mulch layer is going to help, like I said before, it's going to help us to make sure that all of our chits are covered, even the Medusa looking ones, that everything is covered in under some level of soil or mulch. And the reason I'm doing all this right now, I know a lot of people like to hill their potatoes, which is fine. You know, whatever floats your boat. You know, not saying that's right or wrong. But I know a lot of people like to hill their potatoes once they start to grow. Me personally, what I found with this last batch is that doing it like this is just fine, because I don't have to come back and hill. Like, the mulch is going to already be in place, and the mulch is going to act like as a soil level also. So if it's going to throw up any additional potatoes in the mulch, that's just what it's going to do, right? So I really like that. And this is the bed all squared away. This bed I'm not touching because it's home to the fire ants. Not gonna do that, right? Because like I said, I sprayed them and they're still there. So I'm gonna have to try something else. But this bed and this last bed, they all have been planted in. We are done for the day with the potatoes. And you can see, like, that's a nice thickness right there. Everything's gonna be good to go as far as those are concerned. So that's it, you guys. That's all we have for today as far as our potatoes. Planting our second round of potatoes. If you want more, you got to plant more. That's just the name of the game. So if you found value in this video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And here's another video for you guys to watch, to follow us on our gardening journey. And we will see you guys in the next one.